What's going on, Tamers? It's me, guy trying to frantically record videos before his team tournament later today. What deck am I using, you ask? Well, in Greymon we trust. Anyways, we are winding down to the end of the BT14 lifespan with EX5's Animal Coliseum releasing very soon, I think at the end of this week as of the recording of this video. I said it before, but I'll definitely say it again. I wish we had just a little bit more time with this set. It feels like things are still a little wishy-washy. Just looking at the results this week, there's some surges from decks that I really didn't expect to see great results from, and old favorites are reclaiming the titles. So with that said, let's take a look at some event results, a couple of key takeaways, as well as a close look at some of the decks that topped last week. So diving into the results from last week, Marcus's Fists are still the strongest Digimon in all of the game, alongside Wargreymon, who's reclaimed its #2 title from Finnerlugomon in past weeks. We also see a surge of Bloom Quartz results. I'm not really sure why this is the case. I know some players have been trying out the new Shamblamon as well as Quantumon promo cards that got released in the limited set, but I don't think that's the majority of decks. I think that's actually the minority. So it'll be interesting to see how this deck develops in the future. Moving over to the champion level, I expected to see things like Patamon Vaccine here, but Gamamon and Alphamon I did not expect to see. Gamamon I think is a very hard deck to pilot. You have to be really creative using all the effects that the Gamamon line provides you in just the right way. Alphamon, on the other hand, is just a genuinely strong deck, and with the new support coming from EX5 Animal Coliseum's X-Antibody Protoform card, I think players are just, knocking the rust off this deck just to get ready for that. Looking at the rookie level 4 moment, yes, your eyes do not deceive you. Alongside things like Security Control, D-Brigade, and Mirage Galgamon is, yes, a non-zero amount of Bagara Army topping for the week. What's really interesting about the wins here is that this deck actually won a pretty large-scale team tournament, and so with heat like that, we definitely got to take a look at the deck later. And then rounding out our list, we've got things like Beelzemon, Blue Flare, Chaosdramon, Examon still doing numbers here. This shows Megidoromon, but honestly, it probably shouldn't be. This is the symbol for like the mill decks, so like the library out decks. I think now most of them actually swapped over to Lilithmon, but I'm kind of stuck with the same problem that I was with Security Control. Like, what symbol do I put forward just like decks that focus on milling out your opponent? Putting up results along things like Imperial Dramon, Red Hybrid, Rosemon, Royal Knights, as well as Sukamon. I'm super excited for the support this deck is getting in the next set, as well as Ulforce Vegemon and Crossheart. So I mentioned last week that there was this like Marcus / hybrid / like Security Control fusion deck that was like starting to pop up a bit more and more, and I finally found a good list for it, and this is it right here. They combine all the good points of the Agumon cards for Marcus to gain memory, as well as to just play your Marcuses as Digimon to attack, alongside things like the Hybrid Tamers for your TKs, as well as your TK plus Kairi, which is an incredibly annoying card that I kind of wish I didn't have to see again playing against it. They also have a couple copies of Geogreymon just to pull your yellow tamers from security, and when you do something like Geogreymon plus TK, you get to search your security 2 times, so grabbing anything useful there is kind of like using it as a second hand. The level 5s in this deck are mostly focused on recovery and counter Digivolves, things like the Holy Angemon 8s, as well as the 1 copy of the Jet Sylphimon, which is restricted to 1 per deck. So the top end of this deck is mostly focused on giving you more time to close out the game. Things like the Venusmon here to stall for a single turn, and then the following turn you can roll that into a Shine Greymon Ruin mode to give you a little bit more time and recovery if you need it. This deck also features some pretty nasty security options, things like the Weaverman's Breath gives something minus 15,000, the Final Shining Blast gives something minus 12,000, and you can play a Marcus. And then if your opponent is going wide, you have the option of the Shining Blast, which just hits 3 things for minus 2k for as many Marcuses as you have on the field. And then you also get the Sunrise Buster, which is of course limited to 1 as well. One last thing that I forgot to note is the new BT14 Koromon fits in really well for this deck, because anytime a security is checked, you get to draw a card. And when you have things like the Agumon here, who can just play a Marcus as a Digimon, it can attack and you can draw and get card draw off of that. So yeah, all in all, pretty nasty deck. If you're a big fan of Yellow Hybrid, or you were when it was in its heyday, then definitely give this one a shot. I said before we had to take a look at the Bagara Army deck, and that is exactly what we're going to do now. This deck has some really cool optimizations I haven't really thought of, and I'm glad to see this deck actually doing well, considering I kind of gave up on it like a while back. Some nice little innovations in this deck, like the Gumdramon, essentially being 1 cost when you have the Digicross plus U-Tamer on the board, being able to toss something up under him, then gaining card draw plus extra memory off of it. Alongside some new cards that were released this set, things like the Choo-Choo-Mon and the Damemon. Both of these cards do have save, but they also feature the really important Inheritance blocker ability. Darkness Vagabond, when he was released, was a little lackluster because his effect was great, but you couldn't really stop your opponent from attacking because none of the Bagara Army cards had blockers. So you could just put them on the board, your opponent could attack, they would lose their memory, but then they would just still win the game. So giving the Darkness Vagabond blocker off of one of these 2 effects is actually really nice. Where Damimon and Chumon are kind of the shield for the deck, I would say that the new Skull Knight promo card released as a box topper for BT14 is the sword. By himself, he lets you just play down the U-Tamer for free and then you can save him, but in Inheritance he is the security attack +1 for your like level 5s and over. We need the 2 copies of the Muso Knightmon here just because as per its effect, it counts as a Dark Knightmon, and in order to get to the Darkness Boggotamon, you have to Digicross a Dark Knightmon plus a Boggotamon somewhere. The Tactimon here is just to go wide, the Lilithmon here is mostly to cycle cards into your trash and get cards saved up under your Tamers, and the Blastmon here with the Blitz effect is basically your game finisher. The option choices for the deck are some really cool cards I never really thought of. Cards like the Ultimate Flare and the Metallic Impulse are really good, Metallic Impulse being very, very useful in this deck, being able to cycle cards into the trash, as well as de-digivolve stuff on your opponent's side of the board. What I think is really cheeky and really cute is the 1 copy of the Laplace's Demon. Because Darkness Boggotamon basically ends your opponent's turn whenever they attack and you get a ton of memory off of it, you can force something to attack with the Laplace's Demon and then go into your Digicross Darkness Boggotamon for a really nasty combo. Alongside some really useful cards like Calling from the Darkness just to pull stuff back from the trash if you need it, or the 1-of Deathclaw just to cycle cards into your U-Tamer so you can use them to Digicross later. Like most of you out there, I probably had written this deck completely off, but seeing it actually get really good results maybe gives me hope for the future. So I have to ask, was it good all along? So at the start of this set's release, I did show off a Fenrir Lugomon deck, and while that deck was good, I think it wasn't the most refined version of the list. I think what we have here is the most refined version. Full disclosure, this actually isn't a tournament-winning deck. In fact, it's the 2nd place deck from a really large event, and I think that it still merits some value, and because I did want to show off what I think is like the most refined list, let's talk a little bit about it. You notice your lower end here is incredibly light with just 8 cards in the Lugomon and the Drachmon, the Foscomon being entirely cut here. The level 4s of this list are pretty much unchanged from the first week, things like Lugomon as well as Fangmon, and I believe it's Black Gatomon in English. We say Black Tatomon here, but being able to give you additional attacks whenever you get to your level 6 Fenrir Lugomon. The level 5s for this deck have seen a little bit of optimization. Of course, we have the staples of the Hell Lugomon and the Soul Lugomon, but now we include a couple copies of Chimeramon alongside them as well. So the Chimeramon in this deck is here solely for your Fenrir Lugomon turn, where when you get to your Fenrir Lugomon, if you have the AG Tamer up underneath him, he gives him Alliance, which means you can rest Digimon to give him a security attack +1, plus some DP buffs. But then you can later use those rested Digimon to DNA Digivolve into the Chimeramon. And then if you have like a leftover training card or memory boost card somewhere out there, then you can use one of those to really reduce the cost of a second Fenrir Lugomon to close out the game. One of the hard parts that I found playing against this deck is that if you don't kill them in one go, you typically risk them checking one of their near 20 option or tamer cards in security, and then you can unexpectedly die the following turn. So you have to be really careful how you fight against this deck. And so with that, we're going to wrap up the Week 7 BT14 meta report for Japan and the rest of Asia. EX5 is right on the horizon with a lot of really cool decks that I'm super interested in. Things like the Gurumon line coming back, as well as things like Edamon getting more support. I'm definitely down with that. That being said, I've got to quickly edit this video and then head over and prepare for my team tournament later today. Wish me luck. I was wondering if I could do some sort of like tournament report video, but I'm not sure how I would format it. If you guys have any ideas, let me know down in the comments below. Anyways, folks, thanks for watching. I'm going to get out of here. Before you get out of here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.